a really long day. I think a couple other things that stand out. I think when you look at the Chiefs secondary, they do miss a lot of tackles. Trent
Mhm.
McDuffie had missed 13 tackles this year, 14.1% tackle miss rate. That's pretty high. Nick Bolton, 12 missed tackles. Mike Edwards, 12. Justin Reed, 12. L'Jarius Sneed, 11. If the Niners can get to that second level in the run game, if they can make those five guys, Sneed, Reed, Edwards, Bolton, and McDuffie, they can make those guys miss tackles. That I think could be a huge advantage for the Niners. Also, run the ball. I mean, as we said, run the ball. Chiefs are 17th against the run. They're 30th in the NFL against two backs on early downs. So the Niners have the second most rushing attempts out of 21 personnel, which is two backs, one tight end. On first down, the Niners come out in 21 personnel 42% of the time. And they finished with 194 runs for over 1,000 yards, 575 yak, and 5 touchdowns out of 21 personnel. So if you look at the Chiefs, conversely, the Chiefs allowed the second most yards in the NFL with 362, 61 rushes, 223 yards after contact, 18 first downs. So running the ball on Kansas City's defense, Niners have a major, major advantage.
Yeah. I will say this. Justin Reed actually highlighted that in one of his press conferences. They asked him, how do you feel about this game and what have you seen leading up? And he said, well, the number one key to the game as far as their game plan is concerned is tackling. They have to tackle. Everybody has to get somebody on the ground by themselves. He said one of the biggest things that they noticed in the playoffs with the Niners is that there's a lot of missed tackles that could have been TFLs had they gone on the ground right away. There's a lot of guys that break contain and actually get to Debo. They get to CMC behind the line of scrimmage, but they just can't get him on the ground. And these are some of the things that I've seen all season. He's not lying right there. Our offensive line isn't the best. You understand that they're great as a unit, but individually they have issues pound for pound, hat on a hat. And that's what happens when we start going on outside zones and we start running stretch zones and wide zone, quite frankly. When we get into those run fits, you got to count on John Feliciano not to open up the back door, to keep his inside hand strong and not give up leverage. You got to count on Jake Brindle keeping his inside hand on leverage, going to the left, keeping his inside hand on leverage, going to the right. Because if he opens up that barn gate, all right, and gives up contain, these are the guys that come in for TFLs. Now, I'll tell you right now, we haven't really been bid on it as much because we've got guys that are class personified in tackles, at yards after contact, getting downfield. And quite frankly, Christian McCaffrey just makes guys right. He does. He knows how to set up blocks. He sees things before they're happening, and he does his best to set guys up, almost to guide them into the blocks that he needs them to make as he's moving down the field. And that's cool. But what happens when you get DBs and linebackers who are going to shoot those gaps and are going to get guys on the ground right away? That's what the game plan is against us. The Chiefs want to tackle. They want to get us on the ground. They're betting on us not being. This is one thing that you hear about the Niners, and it's a backhanded compliment if you really think about it. They're so good at yards after the catch, right? That's what they do. They're yak. They're all yak, as if to say, what you do isn't complex. Where you get the ball isn't necessarily dangerous. It's what you do after that kind of gets you in a position where you guys are so preoccupied with just trying to get out in space and trying to put physical elements of the field farther away from the line of scrimmage. That's what a screen is. A screen with Deebo Samuel, a bubble screen with Deebo Samuel on the outside of the numbers is akin to inside zone. You just moved it to the sideline. Right? You're still running with a guy just as strong. You got a blocker up front. The only thing about it is that there's nobody as dynamic or as big or as strong as the linemen and linebackers. There's corners and safeties out there. And that's how we win. It's really going to be their skill guys versus our skill guys on the edges, because that's what we predicate our success off of. Getting on the edges with Trent Williams. We see Trent Williams, when he first got here, Trent was going to come down inside and lock down on your biggest and baddest shade or 3-tech, right? But Trent right now, you see Trent, what's the best thing that we do with Trent? We get him outside. He's beating up on DBs. He's knocking down linebackers. He's knocking down safeties and corners. That's where we generate a lot of our physicality on the edges. And tackles in the backfield where guys can shoot gaps, guys losing contain, Kyle Juszczyk missing on blocks. Those things can't happen. Those are going to be a lot of the pesky things that are going to keep us from getting an inertia and keeping us getting a momentum when we first start this game. Because in order to start fast, you got to find your groove fast. You got to have identity fast. You got to know where you're going, and you can't blink. You got to go. And those things kind of stuff us in the ground if we're trying to run outside zone and we can't even get to the line of scrimmage because guys are getting blown up because linebackers are shooting gaps. So we're going to have some real gap integrity up front. We're going to have to make sure that we make sure our guys get to the line of scrimmage and be able to turn on and do what they do once they get in space. In the run game, it's never blocked 100% anyway. Our job as offensive linemen, we leave you one. You got to beat one. Okay, everything else we got. But at the end of the day, when it's time for you to go to the Sunshine State, you got to get one. You got to pay the toll. So for me, I feel as though that Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuels, Jawan Jennings, I feel like we're going to see some Jawan Jennings carries. Those things are going to be imperative for those guys because they can't get tackled by one defender. They can't. I want to get these guys sweating. I want to get these guys in a dog fight. I want to have a dog fight with these guys because I don't think that they scrappy as us. I want to have a dog fight with these boys.
That was a beautiful breakdown, by the way. Outstanding breakdown. We do have a studio audience today, and we appreciate them. Loving that. That was a fantastic point. Let's talk about Purdy because he's really interesting. He's been really good in the second half. He's got a 91 QBR in the second half of games in these playoffs. But in the first half, his QBR is 59. And the Niners are averaging 22 a game in the second half. They're scoring just 7 points a game in the first half in these playoffs. I asked Purdy about this. I said, how do you get it rolling, earlier? How do you start faster? And he said, it's a mindset. We're really best when our back's to the wall, and it's just a matter of feeling that back to the wall urgency and getting in that right mindset. But Coach, what do you think? I mean, to me, it's they've found a way to win, but if they fall into a 24/7 hole against Mahomes and the Chiefs, this thing's a wrap. So Purdy needs to play better. The whole team does. But Purdy especially needs to play better in the first half in Super Bowl 58 if the 49ers are going to win.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's about comfortability. They can't go up on us. This is a game where, quite honestly, we are playing against the best quarterback in the league. All right. Best quarterback on planet Earth, really, if you just want to call it spade a spade. And for all of the support and all of the confidence that I have in our team to go out and win tomorrow, we can't play the way we've been playing the last 2 weeks. That's a fact. All right. We can't come out slow. We can't come out tentative. We can't look at our defense and ask when is Wilkes going to make the second half adjustments. I mean, guys, we gotta act like we've been there before. And I understand that these boys got a little bit more experience than us on this stage. However, our last stage here, we saw them, right? We birthed, these guys stepped on us to get to where they needed to be. And the only reason why I bring that up is that we have the scars from coming into a game and necessarily not being ready to play right away. That Eagles game, before Brock got hurt, all right, Kyle missed on the challenge for Devontae Smith on that catch. We were up, moving, we were down, moving the ball, and started throwing in the middle of the field. We were trying to get plus yardage to flip the field. Like, we got to start understanding that teams are going to try to punch us in the mouth because they understand that we are impossible to beat when we get up. That's what teams feel about us. I understand that there's a way to look at it where it's like, well, the Niners can't win from behind. But the only reason why it's so hard for us to win from behind is because we're so used to putting up scores early. And it's imperative that we start this game fast. We have to start this game fast. We can't let Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs get into their bag and then all of a sudden we start getting dazed because we're getting clipped by the jab. We need to start throwing power punches as soon as we get in this game.